My eyes are so dry. Now I look like I'm crying. Anyway, previously in my life, I got my heart broken, was taken advantage of pretty terribly by someone else, and also just had a massive crash out all winter long. I finally went to the doctor, got a whole bunch of prescriptions of things that I really needed, found out I have diabetes, and also finally got new glasses, although they're not here yet, but I have some new Meta glasses coming, and we'll talk about those in just a little bit. So these will be gone as of this year, although maybe I'll wear them at some point. So we've got a lot of stuff to catch up on. I'm sorry it's been such a long winter. I hope you're ready. I hope you're excited. We're going to talk today about every single thing that you need to know about Cedar Point and what this coming year is at, along with a little bit of catching up. So I hope you're ready. Let's get into this. It's tradition. It smells so good. Let's get into this video. Cheers. Nothing better than a dry red wine. All right, so like I said, this is going to be our big video for the year. I do this most years, but this year there's a ton of stuff changing about Cedar Point. So go down below and check out all of my little timestamps. If you want to go find something very specific, grab a snack. We'll be talking about all kinds of things. You will learn definitely the most about Cedar Point if you go through all of it, but I understand that also you may not want to do that. That's completely understandable. There is a lot of information to get through. And I'm sure that even after this, I will not answer every single question that's going to be asked of me or that you may have about Cedar Point this year. There's always a ton to cover and a ton that happens around Cedar Point. Now, beyond that, I will, of course, be making individual videos of every single thing that has to do with Cedar Point while I'm there at Cedar Point. So down to riding all of the coasters, doing the fast lanes, getting passes, using meal plans, different restaurants, all that kind of stuff. I will be covering all of that in the park, but and those will be even more detailed. I'll go into even more detail with those. Right now, this is just kind of an overview to help you really understand where to start with Cedar Point, and especially with 2 brand new coasters this year, there's going to be a lot to cover. But let's just jump into this and let's go. All right, now the very first thing that we need to talk about is getting there. So this is very easy for me, and it's probably very easy for a lot of you, but there may be, as there are every year, people who are coming to Cedar Point for the very first time. I've met people from England coming to Cedar Point, not to mention, of course, people just coming from the south to Cedar Point or coming from other parts of the country to Cedar Point for the very first time to do some thrill seeking. And also, if you are just anybody and you want to ask a question, I do not care what that question is. It helps the algorithm every single time, and there are so many websites like on Facebook where inside the discussions, if you ask the same question twice, they get mad at you and they're like, well, we answered this 5 posts ago. I do not expect you to watch every single video, and I do not expect you to read every comment. Yes, I've probably answered your question at some point, and you're welcome to go watch any videos that you want to watch. But you do not need to look through things before you ask the question. Ask me the question. It's never going to offend me, and it's never going to hurt me, and I'm never going to say, well, I answered this question here. The most I might do is maybe send you a link to a video that specifically answers that question. I'd love to hear them down there, and every time you ask a question, you're both asking a question for other people, and you are also helping the algorithm for the channel. So it's not going to hurt me at all. Also, like and subscribe down below. Press that like button or press the dislike button if you want to. Either way, it helps me out. So that's cool. You will also help more people to see this video if you engage in this video. So please engage in this video with whatever it is that you want to do. Cedar Point is between Toledo and Cleveland. It's also north of all the major cities in Ohio. So it's on the north shore of Ohio, right below Lake Erie. If you drive along the coast of Lake Erie between Toledo and Cleveland, you're going to come to Cedar Point, or at least you're going to come to Sandusky one way or another. It is along several major routes that are going to get you to Sandusky and to Cedar Point in general. Those routes are Highway 90. You can go down Highway 20 if you're not wanting to spend money on the toll road, because Highway 90 is a toll road, or you can also go down Highway 6, and that's going to take you right along the coast, all the way up by a couple of other smaller cities, Huron, Marblehead, stuff like that, if those are the little cities, Port Clinton, if those are the little cities that you want to go visit. It is about an hour away from Cleveland and an hour away from Toledo, so one way or another it's kind of right in the middle of both, but it is something that you can go visit relatively easy along those highways. From the south, it's a little bit more convoluted. Of course, it's not too hard to get to one way or another, but you just need to get to one of those highways, and those will really take you straight in to Cedar Point. From the point of those highways, though, then you do have a couple of other roads that get you in. For Cedar Point, it's mostly Milan Road that you take. Everyone always says I say it wrong. It's Milan Road. I don't care. Milan is in Italy, and that sounds better. So I'm going to say Milan. Thank you very much. And then also you have Highway 6 that will continue to take you all the way into downtown Sandusky, and then from there there's a couple other roads that will take you in from that point. And it's pretty easy to find one way or another. It is a bit more convoluted than getting into, say, Kings Island. Kings Island is right along the highway. When it comes to getting to Cedar Point, you're really going to need to use some maps because it does get a little bit more convoluted having to go through downtown Sandusky in order to get where you want to go. Now, as far as parking goes, parking at Cedar Point is multiple different parts that you have. You of course have the main parking lot. Within the main parking lot, you also have a tiny little area that's the Prestige lot. Now, I'm not sure if the Prestige lot is really going to be worthwhile this year or not. I think I'm getting a Prestige Pass. I still haven't bought a Prestige Pass. I have like 2 weeks until Kings Island opens, and I still haven't bought a Prestige Pass. But it seems that Cedar Point and Kings Island and all of Six Flags has sold a lot of Prestige Passes. They lowered the price this year. There were a lot of people who were very interested in getting Prestige, and Prestige also is the only pass that gets you into everything. We'll talk about Prestige later, but because of that, there's a lot of people that are wanting to get Prestige passes for this year. So I'm wondering if some of the benefits are going to be a little bit less than they would normally be, because they're not going to get you in as fast or be as exclusive to only you this year. However, like I said, the price for Prestige is a little bit less, and when you compare Six Flags, Cedar Fair parks to any other park, I mean, even Kentucky Kingdom, which is only one park, your pass that you're getting with that is incredibly low. Like, the amount of money that you spend on it is just almost nothing. So that is a nice part of coming to Cedar Point one way or another. Buying a Prestige Pass is really not very expensive in comparison to the price that you would pay at almost literally any other park across the country. Now, at the back of Cedar Point is a peninsula, and that's the way it's set up. So you have to go all the way around Cedar Point. There is a water park back there, and that water park also has a parking lot with it. When the water park is not open, you can park back there. And even when the water park is open, you can also park back there, because you can go to both the water park and to the regular park too. However, if you're there early at Cedar Point for like early park entry, you cannot park in the water park. They'll send you back. You're trying to get in line for Cedar Point as quickly as you possibly can. You need to park in that main parking lot, not in the back parking lot. A lot of people like to park back there because it gets you a little bit closer proximity to things like Top Thrill 2, and that's great. It's fine to do that, but you can't do that early on in the morning. They won't let you. So the only way you can do that is if you park in the main lot and you walk all the way back to that entrance. That is an option for you at that point. And that's something else that we will discuss also, is where the entrances are located and how you can utilize those dependent upon where you are parking at Cedar Point. Beyond that, there is also the Hotel Breakers parking lot, and there is the Marina parking lot. Both of those are for guests of the resorts. You can park in both of those, but not anybody can. You have to have a reservation at one of those hotels. I mean, the Marina is not technically a hotel, but it is pretty much technically a hotel. So, and then Hotel Breakers, you have to have a reservation for. Now, finally, they also do have an overflow parking lot up toward the front. And then they also have an Uber parking lot / a like bus parking lot. And that's going to be, there is a bus parking lot for RVs up at the very front. But then they also have a parking lot over to the side next to Blue Streak, and that is your Uber parking lot. So any Ubers that come in, taxis, or any other kinds of buses that take you to hotels or things like that, those are going to be found right there. So you can get into that parking lot and take like public transportation out from that point also if you would like to. On top of that, when it comes to the purpose of transportation, you also do have ferries that you can take in and out of Cedar Point. I haven't done a ton of this, but it is something that's a possibility. So if you are going to the islands, especially to Kelly's Island will connect you by ferry straight to Kelly's Island. And then from there, you can go from Kelly's Island to Put-in Bay, and from Put-in Bay to Port Clinton. Also, if you would like to take transportation, which I've been meaning to do for years and I need to make it happen this year. If you want to take transportation, meaning a ferry from Cedar Point to downtown Sandusky, you can take it that way also. It's a decent amount of money, which is why I haven't done it in the past, but maybe a little bit cheaper if you're just by yourself than parking at Cedar Point. Parking at Cedar Point without a pass does cost you $40 to park your car at Cedar Point. You can have as many people in that car as you want, but it does cost $40. That means that usually when you consider the $40 plus the $35 it costs to enter the park, it's usually cheaper just to buy a pass, even for one visit or maybe two visits at the very least. Instead of just buying piecemeal, buying your individual pass to go for the day to Cedar Point, and then also buying your parking. Both of those things are altogether, by the time you're done with that, you might as well have just bought a pass. I think you may spend maybe $10 or $15 extra in order to do that, instead of buying your individual ticket and also buying your individual pass to Cedar Point, and also buying your individual parking pass to Cedar Point. Now, okay, this is where it gets a little bit convoluted with strategies for Cedar Point. So I'm gonna need a drink here. Grab a snack if you haven't yet. This is gonna be a long haul. As a Cedar Point guest, there are 4 different ways that you can enter the park at Cedar Point. Most parks do not have this option, and I love it that Cedar Point does, because it just makes it for a very varied day and a very varied experience. Walking into Kings Island, you have one way that you enter. You just come in through the main entrance. But at Cedar Point, you have a lot of other options. So you do, of course, have the main entrance. That main entrance is the most prestigious looking one, with a roller coaster flying right overhead of it, the big LED board, all that kind of stuff. But then you also have 2 entrances along the beach. Those beach entrances are available for anyone to be able to use at any point. One of them goes directly out onto the beach. That entrance is the Windseeker entrance. You'll see this big spire with these people who are terrified spinning around way, way, way up in the air. That is Windseeker, and you can walk right out next to Windseeker there. Now, you cannot take drinks out of the park, and you cannot take the drinks that you get on the beach into the park from that point. Everything kind of has to be separated when it comes to alcohol. But there are and of course you can't like bring food or things like that into the parks, except for the little bits of food that you bring in for your family, like snacks and stuff like that. There are some exceptions for that. But Coming into Cedar Point or out there, that leads you directly onto the beach. At the back, you have the Magnum entrance, and Magnum goes right over that entrance, and you can enter to the water park from that entrance. So you do have to cross a road at that point. That's the road that will take you to Hotel Breakers. And then from that point, you can also go to the water park, which is just down the road just a little bit, not far at all. At that point, that entrance will also lead you to the beach, or it will lead you to Hotel Breakers, depending upon what it is that you're looking for with either one of those. Now, the fourth one, and the one that probably the fewest people coming to Cedar Point know about, is the entrance onto the marina. That marina entrance is where, if you were to take a ferry to Cedar Point, you're going to enter from that marina entrance. And that's going to take you right underneath Valraven, very close actually to Siren's Curse also, which is good to know for early park entry, which we will talk about in a little bit here also. I told you, the more you watch this video, the more you're gonna hear about how everything's interrelated. This year, I would like to specifically enter from that entrance just for early park entry and see what it's like. See if it helps me out, see if it can do anything specific for me, and we'll talk about that later. Those are the 4 different entrances that you have the possibility for. Each one kind of has some different benefits that can help you get into proximity with other rides that you can get to quickly. And we will talk about those strategies later on in this video for what early park entry can look like. I always have to do it, guys. Sorry. If you don't like it, I don't care, quite honestly. Let's go. Now, staying there, we just talked about all the entrances, and the entrances are deeply connected to several different places that you can stay on property. So we're going to talk about all of those right now. At Cedar Point, there are basically 2 different places, 2 different types of places that you can break it down to that you can stay on. You can stay either on property, or you can stay off property. On property, all of those are owned by Cedar Point. Off property, some of those are owned by Cedar Point, and some of them are owned by other places. So they all kind of have their subdivisions just a little bit. But let's talk about on property first. On property are the most prestigious places to be able to stay. I already talked about the marina. The marina is technically a place to be able to stay at Cedar Point. However, you have to have a yacht to stay there. So that is one place I've never stayed. However, I have dipped my feet in the pool there at the marina just kind of to see what it was like. But that is a place where it's very prestigious, like no one gets to be there, and even to get to stay there, there's like a pass that comes along with it that is, I think, thousands of dollars for you to get that. It does come with an unlimited prestige pass for you, and I think for every member of your family that's with it, but I'm a little bit uncertain about that. Yeah, you're basically reserving a spot where you and your yacht can go during the years at Cedar Point. You also have Breakers, Hotel Breakers. That's the most famous of all of these hotels that we will talk about. Hotel Breakers is a beautiful historic hotel, one that was, as many historic hotels have been, in danger of closing for a long time. And then it was renovated in, I think, 1999, and then further renovated again in, I think it was like 2019. So anyway, there's been a lot of renovations that have happened with it. It's a beautiful building, and many of the buildings that were there were torn down, but the main building still stands, and then they've built multiple buildings outside of that to expand Hotel Breakers. So you can have old historic rooms, or you can also have several beautiful brand new like suites. I prefer the historic rooms. Those are my favorites, and I do think they are the prettiest, and just they offer the best experience. But they're not suites. they're not quite as nice. Either way though, you spend a lot of money to stay at Hotel Breakers. I think estimates are usually somewhere between $407 or $800 for a room at Hotel Breakers. So it is a pretty expensive place to be able to stay, but it is a very nice place. And luckily, due to having some very, very kind friends. I've been able to stay at Hotel Breakers a couple different times now, and I love that. I love being able to stay there. I have also splurged from time to time, but these guys, they splurge like Andrew and Jerry. They splurge for like a week at a time, and I'm very, very thankful to them. We always love hanging out with them, of course. Now, on top of that, they also do have Lighthouse Point. Lighthouse Point, once again, thanks to some very kind friends, I was able to stay at Lighthouse Point and hang out there. That is also a place where if you have an RV, you can stay at Lighthouse Point, or they also have some cabins that you can stay in there also. It's a little bit less close to both the beach and to Cedar Point itself. When it comes to Hotel Breakers, you're literally right there at the beach. There are 3 different pools that you can also go to, plus an indoor pool. And well, I think by three different pools, I was really meaning the kids pool also. It would be included in that, but there's like a kids splash pad also. For Lighthouse Point, there is a kids area, a splash pad, and then there's also a hot tub and a pool that's all specific to that. But it's a little bit further from the beach, the nicer part of the beach in particular, and there's a little walkway that you can go down to Hotel Breakers Beach from Lighthouse Point. Also, the bugs at Lighthouse Point are pretty bad. I think due to some ponds that they have in the area, which it's not just still water, it's moving water, but still, I think the bugs kind of overrun that area, which they do around Cedar Point altogether to some degree at certain points of the year. And then also there is a parking lot right there where you can park literally right next to your room. That's maybe the best part of Lighthouse Point is you do not need to park far away from your car. You can park right next to your room itself, or your RV. So that is a very nice part of Lighthouse Point. Now, we have the second designation, which is off of the island. So we're not actually in Cedar Point property anymore. We are now off of Cedar Point property and on kind of the mainland of Sandusky. Sandusky does have a lot of different hotels, and at this point we can divide them into 2 different groups. Those 2 different groups are chains, and we can also talk about family owned different hotels. So the chains are going to actually kind of be broken up into 2 different groups also, and that would be down to experiences, or it would be down to different regular hotel chains that you might know about. So of course the regular hotel chains would be Hampton Inn, Days Inn, La Quinta, Super 8, Holiday Inn Express. We've got the True by Hilton, Roadway Inn, Comfort Inn. These are all different brands that you are going to be familiar with across the country that we have available in Sandusky. Also, on top of that, the experiences that you're going to have are bigger places with indoor water parks, experiences that you can have with you and your family. And that's going to be Kalahari or Great Wolf Lodge. On top of that, there are also the experiences that Cedar Point owns, and those experiences that Cedar Point owns are Castaway Bay, Breakers Express, and Sawmill Creek. Out of those 3, my favorite to go to is Sawmill Creek. I think Sawmill Creek offers you the absolute best, most premium experience that you can have, but at the most discount price at Cedar Point. So often throughout the year at Sawmill Creek, I can get hotel rooms for about $250. The experience at Hotel Breakers has a ton, even though it is a premium experience, it also has a ton of teenagers running around, going to hot tubs, playing in the pools, all that kind of stuff. And they're just everywhere. I mean, everywhere you look, it's just teenagers galore. And of course, it's right there on the beach too, so it has very easy access for all of that. Where when you go down to Sawmill Creek is almost always much quieter. When you're hanging at the pool, it is a much nicer, more adult experience. You can sit in the hot tub and be left alone, be by yourself entirely in the hot tub. You can play in the pool and have a relatively quiet experience. I mean, there's usually a family or two in there, but nothing terrible. They also have an indoor pool and they have an outdoor pool. They have a hot tub in each of those also. There is just such a nice experience there at Sawmill Creek because you don't have to have as many kids constantly having access to that pool and being able to go to the park and then come back out to the pool and go back and forth, all that kind of stuff. You really have to make a concerted effort to go to Sawmill Creek. And that is the nice part about Sawmill Creek. It gives you a much more premium experience with also some nice different restaurants and stuff like that that you can also go to. But you have those experiences without having to have a horrible amount of people there interrupting your experience while you're there. But that is really the fun part about that hotel. Now, on top of that, Castaway Bay also has an indoor water park. And when it comes to the 3 different indoor water park experiences at Cedar Point, that indoor water park is, I think, the best one that you can possibly have for the price. Again, the price is a little bit cheaper usually for Castaway Bay than it would be for Kalahari, and that is a nice part also. It also is a bit more of a medium in between the more child-friendly Great Wolf Lodge and the more adult Kalahari. Hotel Breakers Express, it has an outdoor water area, pool and all of that, which is great during the summer, but there's no indoor water park. There's no indoor place to swim. And it's not like you get water park tickets for Castaway Bay or anything like that. So I would just prefer instead to stay at the indoor pools that they have at Hilton or at Holiday Inn Express or at Comfort Inn, even though that's maybe not the nicest one, but I'd rather stay at one of those because they have those indoor pool experiences where they don't have that at Hotel Breakers Express. And often there's a lot of rain at Cedar Point, and it's just nice to always have, even when it's a really warm time of year, it's always nice to have that indoor experience to be able to go to an indoor pool and know that you and your family can swim while you're there instead of not being allowed to swim because it's raining. On top of that, there are family-owned places, and these family-owned places are very nice to be at, but it's also a little bit cheaper. Now, here's the problem with Sandusky. When it comes to larger metropolitan areas, of course, there are hotels everywhere. When it comes to Sandusky, there's a very limited amount of hotels, and those hotels are essentially vacant for half of the year. So because of that, a lot of these hotels don't get updated quite as frequently, and they also have more expensive prices because there's not as much competition. Now, of course, if you want to go an hour away in either direction to Toledo or to Cleveland, you're going to find more hotels with much less competition for them. So because of that, you're going to be able to find some cheaper hotels. You can find like $70 or $80 during the main season for those if you want to drive an hour away. But most people don't want to drive an hour away. They want to stay in the area. And because of that, you've got a ton of $200 hotels that are pretty subpar in Sandusky. So when you come to these mom and pop hotels, you cannot expect anything that's fantastic. And the experience is not the best thing that you've ever seen. But they are nice little beds for you to be able to stay in. Sometimes they can be a little bit musty. They can be a little bit, it may not be the best experience that you've ever had. I've had some weird ones where it sounded like a train was coming right through my room, one of my favorite hotel reviews. And I've also had some awful experiences, like at Wolf Inn. That was one of the worst experiences that I've had at a hotel, but it just kind of depends. And also, reviews of all of these, multiple reviews of the Cedar Point hotels, but reviews of almost all of these hotels are on my YouTube channel. So go check them out. I'll have a whole playlist linked down below also, so you can go check out hotels there if you're wanting to do that. But there is just a lot of different hotels that I have gone to visit throughout the years, and I'll see the hotel, I'll check them out, and then I'll give them a second or third update throughout the years, just dependent upon where I'm staying and what was cheapest at the time. But whenever I stay at one of these, I do talk about the hotel and try to give you guys as much information as I possibly can. Like I said, this channel is specifically so that you have all the information about all the things so you can make all the choices about Cedar Point that you need and feel as prepared as possible for your trip, and also get the best bang for your buck for your Cedar Point trips whenever you want to. So, because of that, we are now at 50,000 subscribers. Luckily, some of you guys like this. You like learning about Cedar Point. And not just Cedar Point, but other theme parks also. I'm trying to expand my inventory also, and this year I'm planning to do a couple of other things, Dollywood, and although I've been saying that for a couple of years, and Worlds of Fun, Holiday World, and a couple of different places that I'd like to go visit. We'll see if I possibly can. But for 50,000 subscribers, we are going to be having some sort of a celebration. So what kind of a celebration do you want to see? Whatever kinds of options I see down in the comments, I'll be putting to a vote. And then we'll have some different fun things. So do you guys want to meet and greet out on the beach at some point during this year? Do you want to, assuming that I get to 50,000, I mean, maybe I won't, but we're pretty close. I have gone down just a little bit over the last month. So we'll see what happens. But usually once Cedar Point opens, subscribers seem to go back up again. So we'll see what happens. So, I mean, you can never know. But when we do get to that 50,000 subscriber mark, what is it that you want to see? Do you want some sort of a merch drop? Do you want postcards? Do you want, I don't know, but what is it that you want? Some sort of a giveaway? There are different options, and you can get as creative as you want to down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. So let me know what it is that you want for that 50,000 subscriber mark. I'd love to hear from you guys down there, and let's keep going. Also, thank you guys so much for watching. I could not do this at all if it wasn't for you guys, and I absolutely love just being able to talk to you, even on bad days, even when I crashed out this winter. It's always nice to know that the Cedar Point audience is here, and you guys' patience and your kindness to me is so appreciated, and I really, really love that. Also, if you want to support the channel, please go and check out a couple of different things. You can go check out Patreon. You can go check out members only. Down at the bottom of this video alone, it'll say join. You can press that, and that is a way for you also to further support the channel. And you also get extra videos with both Patreon and with members only. And also, if you want to support me in my work outside of this, I am getting some stuff up for people to support my classroom. I am a teacher in the main season and throughout the year, and I am trying to create the best classroom experience that I possibly can for my students. And I'm in a Title I school, so if you guys would like to support the students that I serve, I'd love to see that. And we have keyboards on an Amazon list and a whole bunch of different things that I've created as options for you to go check out. So if you'd like to go check out that list, I'll have that linked down below on this video also, for you to go see that Amazon list and see see if there are ways that you can or that you would like to support my students in this coming year. So anyway, let's keep going. Now, how long should you be at Cedar Point? Now, this is the real question. So this year, I've divided this up into a couple of different categories. I like that this year. So we're starting at the lowest amount of time that you can possibly have, which is 1 day, and then we're going to move up from that point. And I'm going to talk about how much you could possibly do in those several days, or at least what in my head you could probably do in those couple days. If you're there for 1 day, that's not enough time for you to do everything, but of course, Cedar Point people come 1 day at a time all the time. That's a very normal thing. Are you going to ride every coaster and every ride? Probably not. And keep your expectations low for that. Now, I do have multiple videos, and I'll have more videos this year about how you can ride every single ride at Cedar Point. Of course, getting a Fastlane is another option, and a Fastlane will probably give you the ability to ride every single ride when you're at Cedar Point in one day. But also, if you are smart about it and you really, really work hard, you can probably ride everything in one day anyway. So those are things that you can look at. I have multiple tutorials on the channel already, although they don't include Siren's Curse and they don't include Top Thrill 2 as much anyway. But you can look at those to give you an idea of how much you can do at Cedar Point and what order you should probably do things in. If you are coming to Cedar Point and it's your first time at Cedar Point and you're thinking, I'm gonna do everything today all at one time, it's probably not gonna happen unless you've watched everything you possibly can about Cedar Point. It's probably not gonna happen. There's a lot about Cedar Point that just comes down to the experience and understanding what it is by a little bit of first-handness for that. What my recommendation is, if you're wanting to ride everything, is you have at least 2 days, possibly 3 days for that. 2 days is enough to ride everything. You're probably gonna get pretty close anyway. At least all of the coasters and probably all of the different flat rides. You could probably hit at least the major ones, you know, the ones that are the bigger ones, the Skyhawks and the Wing Seekers. You're probably gonna hit those rides. If you are looking to get shows also, then 3 days is going to be your golden spot, because if you're wanting to ride all the rides and see all the shows, you're probably going to want 3 days for that. Even if you're just wanting to ride all of the coasters, you're probably going to want 3 days to ride all the coasters and see all the shows. On top of that, at 3 days, there's probably a good chance you might be able to hit all of the water park too. You only need a couple hours to hit the water park, so you'll probably be able to hit that in for the 3rd day also. So shows and water park shouldn't be too hard to kind of do both of those all at one time. 4 days, if you have 4 days, that's enough for you to also include a beach day, which is really nice. Anytime that you have a time at Cedar Point, or really anywhere, Disney, Universal Studios, having a day to sit by the pool and just relax after you spent 2 days just killing yourself trying to ride as many rides as you possibly can is definitely really nice. After you've gone for so long and you've run from ride to ride to ride to ride to ride, and you've had stressful moments and your family at one point was crying and all of that, it's nice to have a moment to go back to the hotel and to sit by the pool and just relax and not have to worry about everything, and you know, maybe get some pizza catered to your pool, and maybe as mom and dad you get a drink by one of the hotel liaisons that'll come out and they'll ask you if you want a drink. You can get something from them, and you can just relax. You don't have to worry about everything. You don't have to be in this state of chaos with your whole family for the whole time. Having that 4th day is definitely really, really nice. And then on top of that, having 5 days is even better, or even 6 days is even better still, for some extra days. Now, 5 days is going to give you an extra time to be able to go and do like the islands of Lake Erie, do some of the areas around, go to Port Clinton or go to downtown Sandusky and grab a nice meal. There are some different fun things around the area, and I've also talked about those on the channel. There's a fun center in Sandusky. Those again are some more fun things for you to do. That's called Ghostly Manor, so you can go check that video out also if you'd like to do that. But there's lots of stuff around. You can go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, or you could go to the zoo in Toledo. There's a lot of things that you could potentially do. You could even take a day and go down to Kings Island and enjoy a day down at Kings Island down in Cincinnati if you're really ambitious. So there's a lot of different options of things that you can do in the area, and it's worthwhile to recognize those things also, or just spend another day at the beach or another day at the pool, relaxing and not needing to worry about everything at the park and making sure that you're getting the most for your money and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes the most for your money is having moments just to relax and not needing to worry about everything. So definitely worthwhile to be able to do that. But my recommendation when it comes to Cedar Point is spend as many days as you possibly can there. There's so much to do. You will never run out of things to do at Cedar Point. I mean, I'm there all the time. I went 38 times last year, and I still did not run out of things to do. My friends Drew and Yoko, I just found out they went 72 times last year. And they still did not run out of things to do during that time. So don't worry about doing everything. Don't worry about having every possible thing that you can do. But the more days that you are there, the more you're going to get to experience, and the more you might just be able to walk around the park and just take in a little bit of ambiance, see a character or two, or spend time watching a show, or hang out on the beach. Those things are very, very worthwhile. When should you go? Now, this is one of my favorite questions because there's so many ways to attack this. One of the cheapest times to go is toward the beginning of the season. The beginning of the season seems to always be that there are fewer people there. There's more thuzies, people who are really into coasters. If you don't know what thuzy means, it just means enthusiast, roller coaster enthusiast. Those are thuzies, people who just love coasters. But there's so many other things to do at Cedar Point than just see coasters. But that kind of limits the amount of people that are there. So the beginning of the season is one of your best times to go due to that. Also, you're going to pay less money in that way. So the beginning of the year, you're going to pay less money for hotels. You're going to pay a little bit less money sometimes for just the ticket itself, unless you get a park pass, which is always my recommendation. And like I said, we'll talk about that. Actually, I think that's the next the next thing now that I look at my outline. But the most expensive times are going to be when the most things happen. So the main season time is also still going to be one of the most expensive times to come to Cedar Point. During Halloween weekends is one of the most expensive times to come to Cedar Point. But there's also so much more happening during those times, and that's why it's so much more expensive. Hotels are more expensive because more people are wanting to come. And there are ways to cut down on that. I didn't even talk about it. You can car camp, or you can also go camping on Kelly's Island. There are different RV parks in the area that are not just Cedar Point. There is a it's a KO? I want to say KO, but I could be wrong. But anyway, there's an RV park where you can go. You can also get cabins there for cheaper. Those are all options for you to save a little bit of money. But yeah, I mean, there are just so many different ways for you to save a little bit, but also it's always going to be expensive coming to Cedar Point to some degree. I've car camped, just stay in my car, and I sleep back there. I have a blanket and a couple of different like egg crates, mattresses that I can lay on. And then also it's just the back of my SUV. So it just lays flat and I can go find an empty parking lot and go stay there. But I don't recommend that for everyone. It's not necessarily the most safe thing to do, but that is an option also. If you're looking instead of at price, but at what there is to do, there's definitely some good times to stand out for Cedar Point. Now, the best time, I think, is the in-between season. I say this every year. This is for thuzies, of course. The beginning of the year is for thuzies, and also the in-between season is for thuzies. There is a time, I think it is right after the main season ends. So it's like September 10th or something like that, September 13th, somewhere around there. There is a weekend when all of a sudden there's just nothing going on, just a weekend happening. And Cedar Point is completely empty. Kings Island during that week actually closes down, but Cedar Point still continues. So a lot of people actually think that Cedar Point just isn't open at all during that time. And it kind of looks that way. So during that time, I've had the most opportunity to go ride as many coasters as I want to ride. Usually throughout the day, I can ride every single coaster during that in-between season. And it is a fantastic time to go because all the shows have just ended and everything is done for the season until Halloween weekends go. So it's kind of their chance during the week to like flip the park, turn it from main season to Halloween weekends, and then on the weekend it's still open so that they can make a little bit of extra money, and because they know that the audience is still there to go. Often the weather is beautiful during that time, so it's a great time to go and visit, and it's just a really nice time to be able to hang out at Cedar Point. There is also Halloween weekends, and there's the main season. The main season has all of the shows. So if you love shows, that's going to be a great time to be there. And also Halloween weekends. Both of those times are when everything is going full tilt. So this year, they're going to be having June 5th to June 28th, Barrels and Bites. June 29th to July 4th, they're going to have the Star Spangled Celebration. And then July 17th through August, middle August, I think it's like August 18th or something like that, they will be having Boardwalk Nights. So Boardwalk Nights runs from the middle to end of June and runs all the way through for a month. And that runs concurrent with the main shows that are also happening. That, in addition to the Barrels and Bites or the Star Spangled Celebration, is going to mean that there's just so much to do. You're gonna have drinks, you're gonna have food, you're gonna have things to celebrate throughout all of that time. And it all kind of works together to create this really cohesive and very varied experience of being able to come to Cedar Point, see shows, ride rides, get fun things to eat, get fun things to drink, and then continue on with the park. Now, of course, I'll do critical reviews of everything because I always do that. And if Barrels and Bites isn't good, then you'll know because of what I'm saying during my reviews, because I do not mince words in these reviews. And that's why Cedar Point doesn't really like me. I'm sorry, Cedar Point, if you don't like me. I'm not too mad about it. But I do want to encourage you to go check those things out, because I do think that Cedar Point can often create really amazing opportunities and really amazing events for people to go and see. And those things have all been pretty fun. They've been good things, good experiences for people to go and do. And I especially know that Boardwalk Nights is something that's really been a hit lately. So I'm very excited for Barrels and Bites. It sounds a lot like Frontier Fest, and I'll include a video of Frontier Fest in this video also down in the description. But you can go see what Frontier Fest was like. It sounds a lot like Barrels and Bites is going to be very similar. However, it's going to be more whiskey based, which is also going to be really fun. So we'll check that out, and I'll let you guys know if it's something that's particularly amazing or not. But I think planning a visit around that time, I'm not sure that you can go wrong, especially if you're like a bourbon drinker. On top of that, of course, you have Halloween weekends, and Halloween weekends has fantastic shows. It has great stuff inside for you to do, especially now. Now they've closed down their outdoor stages, so not all of them, but their big outdoor stage. So because of that, they've moved it indoors, which is really nice, because especially during Halloween weekends, sometimes it gets a bit cold, and it's nice to have a show to go and see inside. I adored the shows that they did last year, especially their new Shrieks show was fantastic. It was inside the Jack Aldrich Theater, and definitely worthwhile to go and see. A little bit sexier, although that show has always been sexy. it is more the time of year to have sexy things, which I think is hilarious too, though, because during the summer, everyone is just sweating and so hot, and they're wearing like head to toe uniforms. And then during the not winter, but Halloween weekends, things start to get a little bit colder, and they're like uncovered, like the girls have their like bustiers on, and the guys have like their chests out or like stomachs out, and it's just it's always funny to me because I'm like, man, why don't they reverse that? It's so cold in the Halloween weekends time, but it is nice that now a lot of those shows have been moved indoors, so it makes it just a little bit easier on them, and definitely fun for them also. I love that time of year because there's so much to do at Cedar Point during Halloween weekends, from kids events to happen during the day, shows at night. Everything goes until midnight. Of course, all of the different rides, and then you also have walkthrough attractions of mazes, and also haunted attractions that you can do. Haunted attractions now are costing, I plan for like $40 for you to get the haunted attractions pass on top of things. And that's because they also have a premium experience that goes along with it, that is the Conjuring. And the Conjuring costs by itself about $15. If you're there on a big day, on a very busy day, then it's going to be like $20 for that, plus a $20 for just the haunted attractions pass altogether. I don't love it that they are charging for that, but the experience was very good. Honestly, the experience at Kings Island was better than the experience at Cedar Point. I will give more specifics about that as Halloween weekends comes closer this year, and we'll start talking about what Halloween will look like at Cedar Point and Kings Island. So watch out for those as the year comes on, but it's gonna be a fun experience one way or another. It always is for me in particular. All right, it's time for me to refill my wine. See, you guys all think I'm like this heavy drinker. It took me, how long's it been? It took me an hour to drink this much wine. I only look like a heavy drinker because I edit it that way. Okay, guys, I don't actually drink like nearly as much. People are like, oh, he's slurring through the parks. I'm never gonna say I never have been, but I'm not nearly as bad as you guys all think I am. However, I'm not gonna say I don't like to drink, because that would be a lie. But also, I just don't always talk the clearest either. That's just a part of my mouth. For some reason, I don't know why. As a kid, they thought I needed like speech help, but also I didn't. When they tested me, they were like, oh, he doesn't need speech, but there is something weird about the way my lips function that does weird stuff. So I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Cheers. And let's continue. Told you guys this was going to be a long one. All right, now we are talking about tickets. As far as tickets go, Cedar Point has it very set up that no matter what kind of ticket you buy or what circumstances you are buying that ticket under, it is always best for you to buy it online, no matter what. So the cost for daily tickets is $45 to come into Cedar Point if you buy it online. If you don't buy it online, then you buy it for $90. I don't understand why, because they have someone sitting at the ticket booth anyway who they're paying to be there. So I guess maybe there's less for them to do though, which could be good because then they can help more people out with a better customer experience. I hope that's why, and I hope they're just not trying to eliminate that position altogether. However, like I alluded to at the very beginning of this video with the parking side of things, if you're just now joining us, you might want to go check out more about parking because there's more when it comes to tickets up there also. But it is going to cost you to park one way or another. And because of that, you might as well just buy a silver pass, and it may be just as cheap to buy that silver pass instead of buying your individual ticket and your parking pass for you to come in. Now, if you have a car full of, say, like 6 people, like a van full of 6 people or 10 people or something like that, then of course it's cheaper for them all just to buy individual tickets for $45 each. But if you're coming in with just you and your wife, and it's $45 for you, it's $45 for her, and then it's also $40 for you to park your car. That's $85 right there. I think I think a silver pass is $95. So you're paying $10 extra for that, and then your wife would, I guess, technically be cheaper if she's only coming for one time. But if she's coming for multiple different times, that's probably not something that, again, is going to be cheaper, because if she comes just twice or 3 times, you're going to get your full amount of money back on that silver pass one way or another. Let's talk about what the actual prices of these passes are, though. Okay, I said $95 for the silver pass. It is $99 for the 2026 silver pass. Now, the 2026 silver pass, though, includes park admission. It includes free general parking. It includes unlimited visits through Labor Day, though. So that does not include holiday weekends. So that's a very important distinction to make with Silver Pass versus Gold Pass. And then on top of that, you also do get a bring a friend discount to bring someone and get cheaper tickets for them. Of course, you are paying $99 for that. If you buy it at the door, it'll cost you $125. Now, for $51 more, you are going to get the Gold Pass. The Gold Pass is going to include admission throughout the entire year, and for all Midwest parks. Now, I don't know what Midwest parks mean. Cedar Point is now owned by Six Flags. So, do Midwest parks mean just the parks in the middle? Do they mean, like, I'm not sure which parks they're really talking about. I'm sure they mean Chicago. I'm sure they mean Kings Island, but I'm uncertain about which other parks they would actually be including. And I don't think that they actually have that written down anywhere either, which parks they're doing. So that's the thing that's most confusing to me about the Gold Pass. On top of that, there is also water parks. You'll get the water park for Cedar Point. And then you also get to visit all season. That's another distinction with the Silver Pass, is the Silver Pass does not give you access to any other parks other than just Cedar Point. The Gold Pass will. And also the Silver Pass does not give you access to water parks. On top of that, the Prestige Pass has the most stuff that comes along with it. Obviously, due to the name, you're going to see that there's the most involved with that. You do get free parking. You also get free unlimited preferred parking. So you get specific preferred parking with your Prestige Pass, which is part of the reason why I like it. It's nice to be able to go up to that specific parking lot that I circled earlier that you could see at Cedar Point. On top of that, you do get admission, park admission to all Six Flags parks across the country. You get admission also to all Six Flags water parks at Cedar Point. Or not just at Cedar Point, but all Six Flags parks. So if you want to go to any other park across the country at Great Adventure or Great America or wherever, you're also going to get access to the water parks. You do get a discount of 15% with food and merchandise. And although never buy food even with your discount, you need to always buy it with a plan, and we'll talk about those food plans in just a second here. On top of that, you also get access to holiday weekends, which you also get with the Gold Pass, and you also get 1 free single-use Fastlane per visit, which is the really nice thing about your Prestige Pass, no matter where you buy that from. So whatever park you go to, you always get a free Fastlane, one way or another. Which is really nice. It's a great way to come into the park a little bit late and still feel like you get a leg up, because you get to ride one ride a little bit faster than you normally would. So you come into Cedar Point and all the rides are completely full, but you want to ride one ride. So you go, okay, well, I'm going to go ride Maverick because Maverick has one of the best Fastlane lines that you can ride. So you get in line for Maverick and you get straight up to the very front and you bypass this already hour and 15-minute line since you're an hour late for the day at Cedar Point. That's a really good way to be able to utilize your extra time or lack of time at Cedar Point and be able to feel like you got a leg up, you got a great ride early on in the day, and now you're gonna ride a few more things. So that's a huge part of the cost savings for this pass. It also gives you VIP entrance. So that VIP entrance starts for 2 hours at the very front. No other lines. Like I said, there are 4 different lines at Cedar Point, or 4 different entrances. You only can go in the main entrance, and the main entrance will have a VIP line that you can go through for the first 2 hours, and you just get to be the first one through. So you don't actually have to wait in any lines. You get in very quickly. On top of that, there's also a VIP area where you can just sit and relax. They also have free chips and you can get free water or drinks there. Sometimes they've given me like Coke there. Just kind of depends on when I've been there and which park I'm at too. So I'm not sure if they always do that or not. So, but either way, you can get water and you can get free chips while you're there. It's a great way to relax. And for me, because I do a lot of traveling and I'm constantly back and forth, sometimes it's nice to just have a day when I could just sleep on the couch there. Because sometimes I just get so overwrought with being tired. But that Prestige Pass is $300 for the Prestige Pass. If you buy it at the gate, it's going to be $350. The Gold Pass is $150, and if you buy it at the gate, it's going to be $195. Now, like I said, all parks are now a part of Six Flags. Unfortunately, I think, I'm not sure, Six Flags, I think has some real problems. And I don't love the way that they necessarily always do things. I've also seen a lot of Six Flags starting to leak into the way Cedar Fair parks do things. And I don't love that, genuinely. Six Flags is much less likely to be doing well done entertainment, something that both Cedar Point and Kings Island is really well known for and does spectacular with. But that's not something that you see as much at like Great America or Great Adventure. The entertainment is just not nearly as good. And it's something that I'm hoping they don't cut back at with Cedar Point. So it's something I'm encouraging and continuing to encourage. And I would encourage you to encourage it also. Write letters and when you're at the parks, tell them how much you enjoyed a certain show, because those things hold huge dividends. Actually, more dividends from you than they do from me. If they hear from me that I love shows, they already know I love shows. They don't really care. But if they hear from you that you love shows, they actually care about that. They do not care about my opinions. They care about my influence. They don't care about my opinions. Now, on top of that, the Cedar Point app is pretty decent. Weirdly decent. The Six Flags, Six Flags has had some problems when I've gone to visit. Recently, I released a video of me going to visit Six Flags in Gurnee this last year. I was very, very late, but go check it out if you'd like to see what that Six Flags experience has been like. Cedar Fair does seem to have somewhat decent Wi-Fi/4G. However, some of the other parks don't as much. I will give a little asterisk there, meaning that I was at Six Flags in Gurnee, Illinois, on probably one of the busiest days that they've ever had. It was at the end of the year for Halloween weekends, but I mean, I think it's called Fright Fest there. I really had difficulty being there. I wanted to enjoy it, but I really had difficulty. And there was just a lot of frustrating stuff that was happening while I was there. And it's something that I think maybe is good to be aware of for the purposes of what does the Six Flags experience end up being like with their app. Does the app really work very well? Does it work on their certain Wi-Fi? Stuff like that. It may be good always to have more ability to know what you're doing before you show up than to come into it blind. I came into it blind, and honestly, I'm not regretful of that. I've had a lot of people that like roasted me in the comments, and they were like, well, that's so dumb that you went and you didn't even know what you were going to do. Most people come to theme parks and they don't know what they're going to do. That's the way it works. Most people do that. And I do try to emulate the experience that most people have. So most people don't have this like rigid, like here are when the different shows are happening and these are the different rides I want to hit and all that kind of stuff. They walk into a park and they walk around and meander until they find something that they want to do. That's the way most people experience a theme park of any kind, whether it's Disney or it is Six Flags. It doesn't really matter. That's the way that they do it. They walk into the park and they don't really know what they're doing. They just decided it would be fun to do that day. So that is something that I did, and it did not work very well because I did not understand what things were happening where. And maybe it's just that I had a limited understanding, but not enough understanding. And that's also a possibility. But because of that, that is something that I think would be good to understand about the way that the Six Flags app works. And if there's maybe some little issues, maybe have an idea of what it is that you want to do and what times those things are actually happening so that you can have a loose itinerary of the day and then walk into Cedar Point knowing you have a show and you have these 5 rides that you really want to do, and that's going to help you out just a little bit, just in case some of those app issues happen. Part of the app is that now every single park is found on the same app, which is great. It's really nice to be able to move from park to park to park quickly within the same app and not have to have the Cedar Point app and the Kings Island app and the Carowinds app. And it is nice to have that all in one place instead. But it's also a little bit frustrating because it's a little bit more overwhelmed with information. And that information can make it a little bit difficult to do everything or to have it run as efficiently as you want it to when you are getting into the app. So that's what I'm cautioning you on, is that sometimes it can get a little bit overloaded. Now, on top of that, let's talk about live entertainment. I'm super excited about this. And when I wrote my outline, I actually said the same shows are back. There is one show that's changed, and I will talk about that. But yes, that's true. The same shows are back. But there's also so much more this year, and I'm so excited about it. The way that they're having like a 4-day stint for fireworks for the 4th of July, starting at the end of June and going through July 4th. I'm super excited about that. That's going to be an absolute blast. On top of that, they're also having a new show. What was it? They have a character called Shriek in it. So their like high school show yearbook this last year. That was a show that they've done for the last 2 years. They've changed that this year. They did have, though, that it was unknown what it's called. And I don't know. I do have some connections in entertainment. I probably should have reached out to them, but I didn't. I don't like to use those connections, guys. I don't like to be invasive. I'd rather like find out along with you and then talk about the shows. And I think that's more fun. But anyway, I'm very excited about the new Jack Aldrich show. I think that's going to be really fun. But the bigger thing is having Beers and Barrels back this year. Having bourbon, like being able to try some different bourbons at the park. That's going to be a blast. And then also having entertainment run multiple different ways. So you're gonna have your main entertainment crew, and then you're gonna have this piece of entertainment, which is like drinking around Cedar Point, basically. And then you're also going to have this piece of entertainment, which is Boardwalk Nights, which happens halfway through that entertainment starting. That's gonna be a blast. I think I did notice that there was maybe one show missing. That is another thing that I will say massively for Cedar Point is bands in residence is a great thing. Support them, you know, buy their merch, do fun things with them, get to know them a little bit. They're so much fun, and then sometimes you see them move on into even bigger and better things, and then you know people. So how cool is that? So go check them out. Definitely fun to be able to go see some of these smaller groups sing, and I love watching them as they continue on their dream, because you know I'm continuing on mine, and sometimes it's not that easy, but it's fun to support people who are moving toward their dreams. So definitely cool to see that. And I love it that Cedar Point does that kind of stuff, because there's not a lot of companies that really support people moving toward their dreams in the way that Cedar Point does. And that's something that I really laud Cedar Point for doing. Plus, I know it's a cheaper way for them to get some good entertainment, and they have a ton of live entertainment across their park, which no other parks have nearly as much as Cedar Point has. Now let's talk about eating at Cedar Point. Eating at Cedar Point, there's so much to grab, so many good foods to be able to get. Some of my favorites that I'm just gonna outline really fast are Backbeat Q. Backbeat Q is kind of a perennial favorite. No matter what, it always ranks as one of my top 5. It's a great place to be able to grab food. And if you like barbecue, you're really gonna like this, but it's well spiced, well made. There have been a few moments when it's not been made as well, but they always kind of seem to come back around. And it's kind of the same thing with Farmhouse Kitchen and Grill, same thing. Also, the Boardwalk Pavilion is always a great place to be able to grab food too. There are several others, and I will be reviewing every single restaurant at Cedar Point this year and talking about it. Also, like I said, I am diabetic now. So, yes, I'm diabetic, and I have a sensor that tells me what I'm eating and whether it's really affecting my blood sugar or not. I've also lost some weight due to it, which is not bad because I've been eating a lot healthier and drinking quite a bit less. I mean, today I'm having a drink, but it is something that's been good for me overall. But I also want to talk to you guys about the experience, because part of this channel is me taking my personal life and explaining it to you at Cedar Point and showing you some of these things that affect me and also affect other people. Go check those things out and look for those on YouTube coming soon. But with those, eating at Cedar Point, never pay the price that you have to pay at Cedar Point. So if you walk into any of these, again, it's kind of the exact same thing as buying your ticket. Buying your ticket, you're gonna pay $50 extra in order to buy any of the different ticket options or pass options that you can buy at Cedar Point, because probably Cedar Point realizes that still a lot of people are going to walk up to the gate of Cedar Point and not have a ticket and be like, hey, I need to buy a ticket, and not even get online and just walk up to the ticket booth and pay full price of the $90 for their ticket instead of $45. In the same way, most people, including pass holders, are going to walk up to the different restaurants and they're going to pay full price to go to the restaurant. However, there's so much cheaper things that you can do. The options are much, much better than just buying a full price meal. So at Cedar Point, if you go to the dining plans, there's so many different options that you can get, but some of them are really going to help you out. One of the biggest ones that's going to help you out is the single meal deal. The single meal deal is $25, and that is honestly the least helpful that you can possibly get. Now, this is different for this year than it's been in past years, and I didn't really explain this very well in the Kings Island video, so if anyone's coming from the Kings Island video, I hope this helps you out just a little bit more. The single meal deal is $25. It does include an entree, but it also includes a regular sized fountain drink, and it includes a snack. This is one day when you get that meal. Now, if you buy a regular meal at Cedar Point, you're going to spend $19.99 for most of those meals. Not all of them, but most of them. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to convolute it a little bit. You want to eat at the places I mentioned earlier. You want to eat at Backbeat Q. You want to eat at Farmhouse Kitchen and Grill. You want to eat at the Boardwalk. You don't want to eat at like the Fry, like Happy Fryer. Like if that's where you're getting your main meal, just eat that just plain, just your main meal. Although I still think there are other ways that you can get a little bit of a better deal out of it, but still. Even with this, even getting the single meal deal, if you're paying $14 or really $15 for fries, you're still gonna get on top of that an individual snack, and you're also going to get a regular sized fountain drink. Both of those things are gonna be more than $10 for it. So the $25 total for your single meal deal is still gonna give you a better deal on that than buying just the fries. If you just buy the fries and then on top of that you buy a snack later on in the day, and then on top of that you buy a drink at some point during the day, you're gonna really end up spending way more money than you need to spend. I don't drink pop. I haven't for years, which is the sad part about me being diabetic. Because why am I diabetic when I don't drink half the sugar or eat half the sugar that most people do? I don't like sweets and I don't like pop, but you know, whatever. I do like wine, so maybe that's the issue. I don't know. Don't judge me in the comments. I'm done with you all judging me. All season drinks is $39, so you can all season long get drinks. I don't like pop. It's not something that I drink. Unless I'm having it in a Jack and Coke, and then sometimes I do. But because of that, you can get other like lemonades and stuff like that too for your drinks if you want. My recommendation is just walk up to them and ask them for water, and they will usually give that to you. They have been a little bit more stingy with it in recent years than they have in the past, and again, I think that's a Six Flags issue. On top of that, they have the all-season dining plan, and if you are coming more than twice or 3 times, you're definitely going to get your absolute money's worth out of this all-season dining plan. It is the same as it's been in past years. It's $145, and it is 2 meals per day. So you get 4 hours in between meals. You can have a meal in between each one. Now, sometimes I think that it is best to have the all meal deal for all season long, and then to have a friend and buy the single meal deal. That's another option. Or on top of that, you can also get the all day dining plan. And this one is, I think, your best value that you can possibly get, especially if you have a family for Cedar Point. So this will give you, it's $35. This has changed just a little bit. It's $35. It's going to give you an entree, and that entree is redeemable every 90 minutes at Cedar Point. So you can get a new meal every 90 minutes at Cedar Point. And on top of that, it does say not available for sharing. Besides, with this much fun, you'll want your own meal. Interesting. I don't know how they can stop you from sharing. So that's very interesting to me that they said that. And this is the first year I've seen that. So now I'm like, okay, well, how are they gonna stop you? I don't know what that's gonna mean, but I imagine they can't actually stop you. Like, you can go into the line by yourself, they have you at most restaurants eat outside of the restaurant even, and you're gonna take it back to your table. If your child eats your food while you're there, they're not gonna say anything to you about that. I'm just gonna leave that there. You decide what you're gonna do with that. On top of that, they have the all-day dining plan premium. Now, honestly, the recommendation for me would be to get this because it's $49 for all day. You can eat every 90 minutes once again. And on top of that, you also get a side or a snack. And then you can also get the fountain beverages, and it includes free refills every 15 minutes for drinks. Entree redeemable every 90 minutes. Yeah, every 90 minutes, every hour and a half, you can eat a new meal. And this does not say it's not including any snacks. So why not just get that one? I would just say, remove the guilt and get the all-day dining plan premium. And then you also get a snack on top of that. Or you can get a snack every 90 minutes if you just want to go get some popcorn. Go get some popcorn for 90 minutes. It costs you $49 for the entire day, and you can feed your whole family on that dining plan all day long as much as you want. Now, for me and my buddy, I went with Nathan, my best friend, for years, and he and I ate all day long on the dining plan. It was a little bit hard to get enough food all day long on the dining plan for 2 full-grown adults, partly because we were also trying to ride as many rides as we could. So we were riding rides, and then we'd stop and we'd wait in the line to go get food. Waiting in the line to get the food is part of what limits the amount of food that you get on that 90 minutes. If all you do is go and eat, okay, fine. But why are you at Cedar Point? Go for it, if that's really what you want. But I don't understand why you're there. But if you're eating every 90 minutes and you're also riding some coasters, you're gonna have moments when you let that 90 minutes lapse. And that's what we did. So because of that, we were sometimes a little bit hungry during that trip. So with that, it's something worthwhile to check out, but it also might help to be able to get the all-day dining plan, because a lot of times you can go grab just a little snack while you're watching the Fangs at Cedar Point, and you're going to be able to wait a lot less for popcorn there than you are anywhere else. So that's kind of a nice part of it. Now, on top of that, let's talk about a few more non-traditional ways to be able to eat at Cedar Point. There are at Cedar Point a couple of outside the park options. And because Cedar Point is more of a resort, you can actually grab food at different restaurants outside of campus. You have the Marina Bay restaurant, and that's like a steak and seafood restaurant. Really, really good. It's a place that I have really enjoyed from time to time here or there. I also got snails there, that was pretty fun. Something I've never experienced before or after, but I actually did like it. It just tasted garlicky and delicious and buttery. On top of that, there are also other restaurants. There's a restaurant at Breakers Hotel. It is an Asian restaurant where they make the food right in front of you, Hibachi Grill. And then on top of that, they also have a Perkins, they also have a Starbucks, they have a couple of different special places to eat, and the TGI Fridays also. I believe the TGI Fridays is back again this season. Last year there were rumors that it was gone, but it was still there all season last year. Of course, you can go off campus. Going off campus does carry with it an inherent risk, because sometimes Cedar Point's parking lot completely fills up, and if it does completely fill up, then that means you are shit out of luck. There's nothing else that you can do. You won't be able to get back into the park unless maybe if you have a park. If you're staying on campus, if you're staying at Hotel Breakers, you might be able to do that and get back in. But that's just because they'll be turning other people away, and eventually you'll come up to the front. So you're still gonna have to wait a horrible amount of time in order to do that. Now, throughout the year, there may be options of taking the ferry. You can take the ferry to downtown Sandusky, and you can eat in downtown Sandusky and then take the ferry back. That's kind of a low risk way to be able to leave campus and still do that. But then you're gonna need to pay like $10 to $15 per ticket for person to be able to go to downtown Sandusky. You can tailgate or picnic inside of your car, which is a really nice thing and a really fun thing to be able to do at Cedar Point. Cedar Point has several different picnic areas that are nice, and they also have the beach. You can bring food out onto the beach. You can bring sandwiches and chips and stuff for your family to be able to eat while they're hanging out at the beach. And if they want to do that, then that's a fun thing for you to be able to do with your whole family. It's a vacation destination. It's a great place to go and visit. And don't think that the beach is a place that you can't visit. There are so many people who say things like that. Like, I honestly, the first year I came to Cedar Point on camera, you can even see in 2020, I walked up to the entrances and was like, am I allowed to leave? Can I go out on the beach? Is that okay? Like, is it? And yes, you can. It's a thing that they encourage. When I first went to my very first media thing, which I haven't been invited back to, Tony Clark talked to me specifically about like, yeah, Cedar Point is so much more than just coasters. And it is the beach. It is places to drink. It is things like that. That was when apparently they liked me. They wanted me to show for them or something. I don't know. Anyway, there is so much more that Cedar Point is, and it's worthwhile to go and check it out for all of those different things it is, including the beach. And the beach is a great place to be able to grab food for your family, so definitely worthwhile to go and check that out. And you can both get restaurants, and there are also bars out there on the beach, and the bars are a little bit cheaper also. And the restaurants are a place to eat, or you could just bring a packed lunch with your family and grab those meals with your family while you're out there, just like you would on a normal day to the dunes. You know, it's the same idea. All right, now this is the shirtless part of the video, because we all know how much you love to see me shirtless. Honestly, videos do go up whenever I have my shirt off, and it's my body. It's not like I have some crazy body, so cool. Let's talk about weather. Midwest weather is crazy one way or another. And I don't even like to call this area the Midwest. It's not the Midwest, it's the Great Lakes area, because we are not in the West. Let's just be completely honest. We're definitely Mid-East if we're gonna be anything. So we're the Great Lakes area. I will die on that hill. The weather is kind of crazy, and especially along the Great Lakes, it's definitely crazy. Even if there is any kind of lightning or thunder at all within like a 3-mile radius, there's still going to be shutdowns of rides at Cedar Point. Every time they see that, they immediately shut down rides, because any kind of thunder or lightning is a threat to people's safety. And I appreciate that about Cedar Point. They do a really good job of keeping people safe, and I really love that about them. But because of that, a lot of times there is stuff that shuts down during weather. But be prepared for a lot of weird movements in weather. Sometimes you can have one of the worst, rainiest days that everyone's going to tell you don't go to Cedar Point that day. It's too rainy. Well, if you have a pass, who cares? First of all. Second, because you might as well just walk around for a while. You're not going to hurt anything. You're not going to hurt yourself by any means. But you're able to walk around Cedar Point and do all of that and hang out, see everything, maybe ride a few rides, and then a lot of times things will clear up. And when they clear up, you can ride rides unobstructed by any other person, and you have a lot better of an opportunity just to ride as many things as you possibly want to ride. That is something that is worthwhile every time you go to Cedar Point during the rain, to see it clear up and then be able just to go hang out at Cedar Point after that. Definitely worthwhile. On top of that, what to wear. This is where weather does affect things quite a bit. I always recommend a lot of variety in your clothing, meaning sweaters to take off, sweaters to put on, shirts to button or unbutton, things to layer. Any kind of layering is a great way to do it. I have all kinds of sweaters and button-up shirts that I can button and unbutton as the day goes on, and you will see that in my videos all the time. And then it is a way for me to make sure that I feel a little bit better while I'm at the park, because sometimes it will be incredibly rainy and then all of a sudden it will get very, very sunny. There was even one time when it rained so much, it was during holiday weekends, it was cold. A sweater becomes a state of mind, or a shirt becomes a state of mind. And I was there with my buddy Nathan at that point, and we just both took our shirts off and ran to the front of the park, because at that point, the shirt had absorbed so much water that it was just like water cascading down my back. It was making me colder rather than actually warming me up in any possible way. So we just took off our shirts and ran to the front of the park. That kind of stuff does happen from time to time. Like, it's fun to be at Cedar Point, but there are times when weather gets in the way. And that is just a part of being outside at any place where you can possibly be. Having indoor places to go see shows and do fun things like that, that's definitely worthwhile. A few places to eat, like at the boardwalk pavilion, definitely worthwhile for that. It help you cool off or warm up a little bit after some really cold or rainy weather. Definitely worthwhile for any of those things. But always make sure that you have multiple layers or ways to change what you're wearing so that you're not too cold, you're not too hot. If you're near the water rides, you can have your shirt off, just like I do right now. There is a spot where they're eventually going to tell you to put your shirt back on. And actually, the funny thing is, one direction it tells you, there's actually a sign that says put your shirt on. And on the way back the other way, it never says that. But eventually they'll say, like, hey, put your shirt back on. Sometimes they do it unfairly. Okay.
Because he's got muscles.
Is this guy gonna get asked to put his shirt on? Because
if not, there's double
he's got
standards
muscles
here.
No, he didn't get asked. Maybe? No, he didn't get asked to. No, Andrew's gonna do it. Is Andrew gonna get asked now? No, there's a double standard. Oh no, there's a double standard. We've discovered a double standard. I've been asked to put my shirt on back there, and you haven't, and he didn't. We've run into this before with me and Andrew. They prefer Andrew's body because he looks better than me shirtless. But I have seen girls wear like their bikini bottoms with see-through pants on. I've seen them wear like the bustier things. There's, and those things I would recommend. Any of those options, they give you ability to kind of take things off and put things on as you need to, that could help you throughout the day at Cedar Point, because it does vary in what the weather is going to feel like. It's time to go get some more wine. Also, I'm done with the shirtless thing now, so. I mean, am I ever done with being shirtless? No, that's never a thing. And some of you just hate seeing me shirtless. I'm sorry, we're body positivity here, so. Kind of. I also want to be better. I want to look better, and I'm losing some weight, which is great. And we'll see what happens as I continue to walk around the park. I just spilled a whole bunch of wine all over my pants. Now, the layout of Cedar Point, I have talked about this pretty well at length, but Cedar Point's layout is very confusing. It's long, it's far down a full peninsula. It looks a lot smaller on paper than you might think it might be, but it is a huge park. And because the layout is not very efficient, because it's just kind of whatever you can have in a large peninsula. Um, because of that, it takes a long time to get from the back of the park to the front of the park. If you go back to the Beast at Kings Island and you walk to the front of the park, it won't take you very long to get to the front of the park. Where if you walk to the back of Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point and you walk to the front, you're gonna have like a 25-minute walk. So it is gonna take you quite a bit longer. Because of that, it does take a lot longer to get from coaster to coaster. It does take you quite a bit longer to move from part of the park to the next part of the park. Or to move from the back of the park to the front of the park. Because of that, there's actually more food throughout the parks because you have to have places where you can stop to eat on your way to the front of the park. More bathrooms and more things like that. Also because, again, you have to have more of those as you work your way throughout the park. It is a very difficult layout. For a while at the very beginning when I first started coming to Cedar Point, I would walk around the park and I'd go, well, I never saw Steel Vengeance. Why didn't I see Steel Vengeance? And it was because I was walking around the main walk, but I wasn't walking through Frontierland because the main walk doesn't include Frontierland. It's kind of separated. It's a little bit less confusing than it used to be because now they've put in a couple of extra walkways where there used to be a ride. So that ride, it was antique cars, used to kind of separate you from the rest of Frontierland. Now you have a restaurant up there where you can walk through to get to a couple of different places. Now for schedule, especially for adults, there is a couple different ways that you can do this. If you have a stay at Hotel Breakers or any of the resorts that are owned by Cedar Point, then you could have early access to the parks. Gold Pass does not have access to early entry, and for some reason it didn't have that in the discussion of Gold Pass. But you have to have a Prestige Pass if you are not staying at the resort's property. If you're staying at any of the resorts, then you do have early access one way or another if you're staying at any of the Cedar Point resorts. But if you have Prestige Pass, then you have early access either way. Now, the early access rides are Gatekeeper, Siren's Curse, Millennium Force, and Top Thrill 2. All four of those, I mean, those are bangers. All four of those are bangers. To be able to come in and immediately go straight to Top Thrill 2 and then go hit Siren's Curse, go hit Gatekeeper, and then make your way over to Millennium Force. Fantastic. Great way to be able to start your day, to be able to ride all four of those. Now, the biggest chances, you're probably not going to be able to hit all four of them. You're probably going to have to choose two at the very most. So what my recommendation would probably be, which I always hesitate giving real recommendations during this, because if everyone goes and does this stuff, then it's gonna really make it difficult for everyone to be able to do it. But my recommendation would be to hit Top Thrill 2 and then go straight to go to Siren's Curse. After that, you can go try to hit Millennium Force before everyone else comes in, because Siren's Curse is right next to Millennium, and hopefully at that point, regular entry people are coming in but are not quite to Millennium Force yet, and you can still get in quickly to be able to go ride Millennium Force. But then at that point, you've hit 3 of the biggest coasters at Cedar Point in your first hour at Cedar Point. And because of that, you're going to have a lot more ability to go ride other smaller middling things. At this point, that would then be your chance to go hit a smaller coaster after Millennium Force. You could go hit Gatekeeper, or you could go hit Valraven. You could also go hit Magnum. And those rides would probably not have massive lines yet, because people have not made their way to them yet. Most people come into the park and they go, I want to ride my biggest top 6 rides. Valraven, Top Thrill 2, Millennium, Maverick, Steel Vengeance. Is there one more? Those 5 are probably good. Yeah. But anyway, I want to go hit those 5 rides. I want to go hit them as quickly as I possibly can. Now, a lot of people are going to get stopped by Raptor because most people walk in, they see the big green thing on their way in and they go, oh, we want to hit that. Well, that's going to have massive lines until about 2 p.m. And then 2 p.m., there's going to be no lines there at all. So you go hit that later on in the day. But at that point, after you've hit some major rides, then you can go ride some of the smaller things. Like I said, like Magnum, like Corkscrew, like Cedar Creek Mine Ride. Go hit some rides that aren't going to be quite as big, that are going to have 20-minute wait at noon, where instead at this point you've hit some major rides at the very beginning of the day. So that then allows you to get those rides, those smaller middling rides that are going to have 20-minute waits later. You can hit those for 0 wait right now after you've hit some of the major rides at the very beginning of the day. And then you can strategically plan some rides like Rougarou and rides like Raptor that are going to get much smaller waits at the end of the day. And you can ride those rides at the end of the day so that then you get as much bang for your buck as possible. You can also use during peak time, you can use your extra Fastlane if you want to do that, or you can also buy an individual Fastlane to really give you kind of a leg up on the rest of your day, and then that would be cheaper than spending money on your full Fastlane for the season or for the day. Spending $200 on a Fastlane is a lot of money, but you could spend $15 for each person in your party if you want to do that instead. And then that's going to give you another little leg up on your day, and then you can go ride a few more rides and wait until the very end of the day to ride something like Steel Vengeance, which is going to have a really low wait at the very end of the day, which then gives you the ability to ride that last ride, or you can even hit that at the end of the day. Let's say the park closes at 10 o'clock. You can ride Steel Vengeance at 9 o'clock while it has a lower wait, and you can go to Maverick at 10 o'clock at the very end while it still has a very large wait. So there are a couple different strategies. Basically, your beginning of the day gives you as much time as you possibly can to ride as many rides as possible for early entry. The next hour after that gives you a chance to ride some middling rides. And then the very end of the day gives you the chance to ride 1 other or 2 other big rides. Let's say Steel Vengeance in the last hour, and then let's say Maverick at the very end. So you can wait to ride those rides throughout the day. So you just ignore those rides, don't ride them as much as possible, and then ride everything else that you possibly can until you go hit those 2 rides at the end of the day. Of course, other rides like Raptor and like Rougarou give you a really good solid option for after lunch to be able to ride after people have walked past them all, and then those lines get down to absolutely nothing, and you can worry about those later. So worry about those at 3 o'clock instead of worrying about those at 10 o'clock while everyone's walking into the park and seeing them being like, oh, we'll wait for those, when the lines are going to be nothing later on in the day. One thing you have to remember is most people walk into the parks, like I said, not knowing what they're going to do and not really knowing what rides are where or what rides even are at that park. Most people are not Cedar Point fanboys like I am. Most people walk into the park and they go, oh, look, there's a green thing. I'm going to ride that. So they ride it, not knowing that that ride is going to get very low lines at the end of the day. So you, by watching this video about Cedar Point, are already a leg up on the majority of people walking into Cedar Point. Now, Cedar Point also has some off-campus activities. Those off-campus activities are very fun. There's a lot to do. There's Ghostly Manor. Ghostly Manor has a area for haunts, but then on top of that, it's also a skating rink. It's also a kids playground inside, indoor playground. There is a large arcade inside also, and there's a whole bunch of fun stuff to do when it comes to like virtual activities. So there's a lot of stuff inside of that you'll get to do with like a laser maze that you get to run through. Or you can do like a virtual shooting game that happens. There's just a lot of stuff inside of that you get to do. On top of that, they also have an indoor putt-putting area that's all like glow in the dark. So that's another fun spot. There's just so much to do there. Let alone downtown Sandusky has a lot of fun stuff. They have some axe throwing. They have like a little indoor mall. They have multiple different restaurants, and bars. Definitely worthwhile to go see that. They also have a couple of little hotels in the area, boutique hotels, and I have seen a couple of those also, so you can go check those out. On top of that, the areas around Huron, Port Clinton, and then the islands of Lake Erie are definitely worthwhile to go and check out. Also, you can take ferries to Put-in Bay or to Kelly's Island and go spend some time on those. Definitely worthwhile. Put-in Bay has a ton of music, and they have free pools to be able to hang in their bar pools. So they're expecting you to grab a drink while you're there, but the draw is that you have a free pool to hang out in. There's free bands to go listen to. You will have to give them an ID, but other than that, you don't have to pay a cover fee. You can go hang out and listen to the bands. Definitely worthwhile all the way around. You can dance the night away, have a blast, and there's just so much to do around Cedar Point that's worthwhile. On top of that, you can go down to Cleveland and you can go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You could go to Toledo to the zoo. You could go to any of the other areas around, including even Kings Island, which I've already mentioned all these things just a little bit in our scheduling part of the video. But you could even take a day to go down to Kings Island and be able to see one additional park there in Ohio that is a fantastic place to go and visit. There's a lot that you can do near Cedar Point, and it is worthwhile to go visit all of it. So definitely worthwhile to go take a day and just have some adventures around Cedar Point, especially knowing that Cedar Point is on the beach like it is. There's just a lot to do along Lake Erie. Now, one of the most important and misconcepted parts of Cedar Point is its Fastlane system. Every other park, they have Fastlane and they have no Fastlane. So you can either buy Fastlane, and Fastlane is going to give you an option for every single ride, or you can buy no Fastlane and it will give you an option for no rides to ride fast. Cedar Point, it's different. Cedar Point, you can buy Fastlane, and regular Fastlane is going to give you an option for a few rides. It's going to give you an option for Gatekeeper. It's going to help you get faster onto Magnum. It's going to help you get faster onto what other rides? Corkscrew. But it's not going to help you get faster onto every ride. As a matter of fact, there are 5 rides that Fastlane does not give you access to, at least not faster access to. You can wait in a regular line for them, but you're not going to be able to get onto them as quickly as you would want because you bought the Fastlane. If you buy Fastlane, your Fastlane is going to be the only thing that you can get, and you can't just upgrade it to a Fastlane Plus. You have to buy Fastlane. So Fastlane Plus is going to give you options for all of the big rides that you want to ride. It's going to give you the option for Valraven, which I don't think it should include anymore, but it does include it. It's going to give you the option to ride Millennium Force. It's going to give you the option to go to Steel Vengeance. It's going to give you the option for their newest ride, Siren's Curse, and it's also going to give you the option for Maverick. If you want to ride those 5 rides faster, you have to get Fastlane Plus. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with riding Blue Streak quickly all day long, even though Blue Streak you probably wouldn't have had a problem with getting onto quickly anyway. Or you're going to have to go to Raptor or Rougarou, or like I said, Magnum or Gatekeeper. So those rides, yes, you're going to get onto a little bit faster, and yes, you can bypass the line for cheaper, but you're still going to have the 45 or even hour and 15-minute line that you're going to have to wait in for Maverick. So because of that, make sure that if you're buying Fastlane, you're buying Fastlane Plus. Like I said, it's the only park that has a Fastlane Plus, to my knowledge anyway, out of the places I'm going to see. So it's not a normal thing that every park has Fastlane Plus, but Cedar Point does have Fastlane Plus, and you can't just go into the park and say, I would like Fastlane, please. You need to go up to them and say, I need Fastlane Plus because I want to ride Millennium Force, and I want to ride Steel Vengeance, and I want to ride Siren's Curse, and I want to get on those rides and skip the line for them. Those are the important thing to know. Now, the other important thing to know for those of you who are uninitiated is Fastlane Plus and Fastlane are both skip the line services. So Fastlane Plus is going to get you onto a dedicated line for any ride at Cedar Point. Fastlane is going to get you on a dedicated line for a few rides at Cedar Point, and it's going to get you faster onto the ride. Even then, there are going to be a few rides in Fastlane Plus that it is not going to include. It's not going to include Cedar Creek Mine Ride, and I think that's the only coaster it's not going to include, but it will not include a couple of other flat rides also at Cedar Point. Now, on top of that, Fastlane does include also individual Fastlane. Individual Fastlane is something that's a little bit different and newer for Cedar Point. So individual Fastlane is going to be individual little tickets that you can buy or that will go onto your phone that you can scan to get onto a ride faster. So with that, it is just the exact same thing as Fastlane, but you pay like $15 to $20 for an individual ride. So if you're trying to ride every single ride at Cedar Point, say, and you are realizing that there's 1 or 2 rides that are really getting in your way, you could do like one middle of the day pass to pay $20 or $21.50 or something like that to ride Maverick without any line. Now, like I said, $21, that's a lot of money. And there are a lot of rides at Cedar Point like that's not a joke. Sometimes it'll be somewhere between $15 and even like $30 to ride a ride like Siren's Curse without any Fastlane. So you do need to be strategic about what rides you might choose. But that is also another valid and good way to be able to save a little bit of time while you're trying to ride everything at Cedar Point. You buy that pass and then you can scan it in and go on to Maverick. And then you've just saved yourself half the line of Maverick. And then you can move on to ride a couple other smaller rides and then spend your last couple of minutes going on Steel Vengeance and going on to Top Thrill 2, if those are the two that you've missed throughout the day. Whew, so, it is now 1:10. I started this at about 10 o'clock. So what other questions do you guys have about Cedar Point? I told you guys this was going to be a long video, and damn it if it hasn't been a long video. But there's always still more questions that you're going to have and that you're going to run into. Now, like I said, as the year continues, I'll be making videos about these things, but I'm also down to hear your questions or to listen to your comments. Maybe there's something I got wrong. Please let me know down in the comments, or if you have a question about it. But like I said, if you have a question about the thing, then you're not the only one who has that question. So please ask the questions. Please don't be afraid to tell me that you're confused about something. It's fine. It's not a big deal. And I'm not mad about you being confused about the thing after this multi-hour video. So please let me know what it is that you have questions about down in the comments. Please like and subscribe. And we're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. We're very close, but we've got like 600 people to go in order to get to that. So please subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I'm very excited about getting back to Cedar Point this year and kind of getting back to a normal schedule to some degree. And this last year I was a little bit abnormal, and I'm glad to be back to something normal. And I'll be excited to see you guys in the parks this year. And let's go! Hey, thanks for watching. I release theme park related videos at least a couple times a week, so press that subscribe button if you made it this far. Also, check out similar videos in the playlist to the right, or find my newest video to the left. Thanks again, and let's go!